Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So excited for you to be here. This will be airing in May as part of my Mother's Day series. And you are a
Mm.
mom and you have a mommy blog, Mommy Mountain blog, right? Is that what
Yeah,
it
so Mommy Mountain is what I call my personal blog. It's tough climb, great views.
Ooh,
Um,
I like that.
so, you know,
That's good. I
thanks.
really like that. I like that a lot. And you also write for Albuquerque Mom because
I do.
that is where you reside.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, you've talked about everything from breastfeeding to sharing your own story of, and something we're going to touch on today is how your pregnancy kind of, really affected your career and opportunities that were taken away from you because of your pregnancy. I want to touch on that. I mean, these are a lot of topics that people don't talk about. We usually, when we talk about motherhood, typically it's butterflies, rainbows, little bunnies running around the garden. And so I always like to talk about things that aren't talked about, but
Mhm.
moms are going through. And I just think they're important to highlight. So I am thrilled that you agreed to sit down with me today. I'm
Yes,
so
happy to
excited.
talk about it. And I absolutely
Yeah.
think it's so important that we talk about this stuff because motherhood can be really lonely. I know, we moved to Albuquerque about 6 months before everything shut down, and so we didn't really get to build up much of a support system here. And it's just, motherhood can be lonely in the best of times because you're up in the middle of the night by yourself with your kid, or there's just so much you worry about you're doing it right or doing it wrong, and everybody's got their opinions. And so yeah, I think it's really important to share stories about the tough side of it.
Yeah, and there are a lot of tough sides about it. I would love for
Yeah.
you to start with the story that you blogged about it, and I read it online, but I would love for you to share it with my audience about the job you were promised. They find out
Yeah.
you're pregnant, and it's ripped away from you. So
Yeah,
talk
so
about
this was
that.
pre-children at all, and it was for theater, and it was a farce, and it was a lot of physical comedy, and I was so excited about it. I kind of excel at that. That's one of the things that I love doing is physical comedy. And I auditioned, I had booked it, they called me, and I was pregnant. I wasn't showing yet though, but I knew that they were hoping to do 6 weeks, and then they were hoping to extend. So they were trying to lock me down for all that time, and I knew by the end I would be showing. And so I let them know, by the end of this character will be pregnant. And they said, okay, let me get back to you on that. And then they let me go because they said I was a liability. And I just found that so heartbreaking because I'm very good at my job in that particular instance. And they were just concerned about something happening to the baby, I guess. And because unfortunately it was not an equity contract, I didn't really have any recourse to get my union to help. But that really just put me in such a kind of closed off position.
Yeah.
Um, and I felt like I had to hide the rest of my pregnancy as much as I could so I wouldn't lose other opportunities. Um, and I felt very blindsided about it. And, in hindsight, I think that's probably pretty naive because I think many, many women hide their pregnancies as long as they can because they don't want to deal with being the pregnant one that everyone's going to coddle and worry about and all this.
Yeah.
But I thought I was doing them a favor by just letting them know that 8 weeks from now you're going to notice a
Yeah.
difference. And so I actually put off telling my agent for a really long time because I was so worried about that. And
Yeah.
I booked a co-star and shot that pregnant and hid it. And this was for the pilot for Uncle Buck, which was a very short-lived reboot that was on ABC. And they actually had a stunt driver drive at me, and I had to kind of like drop the food I was carrying, and I just knew that they wouldn't want to cast me if
Yeah.
they thought I was pregnant, which I don't know, is an already born person's life less fragile than a pregnant person's wife. I don't know. It's I kept that from that production, and the makeup lady was like, "Are you pregnant?" Pregnant, and I was like, "Yeah, don't tell anyone."
Yeah.
But she got it. She understood why I was hiding it.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I waited a long time to tell my reps, and I went in person to tell my agents, and was like shaking, was like crying, was just so nervous. I was so worried they were going to drop me. Um, and I went in, and I think they were worried I was going to bail. Like, I think they thought we were having a I'm out of here meeting.
Right,
And so we
right.
were both really, all three of us were really tense. It was my commercial and theatrical agent. And then when I told them, they jumped out of the chairs cheering and were so happy for me. And I was like, right, this is why we're a good match. Like, you support me as a human, which I don't think is, you can't count on that everywhere in this business. You know, and that was wonderful.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Question, were they both female?
Yes. Both female, both had had kids.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, absolutely.
And it makes such a difference. I mean, and that in the entertainment industry is very, I feel, still very male dominated, whether
Mhm.
it's on set, production, agents. I mean, more and more, there's more women coming into it, and then you can start seeing things change.
Right.
And you know, the whole attitude towards moms and becoming pregnant and then just being pregnant and being still able to do your job very, very
Right.
well. Hopefully those things start to change, because I hear it all the time, hiding it. And it's not just in the entertainment world. I mean, everyday moms who are out there working may be in a job where they're like, I'm going to wait it out
Yeah.
because I don't know. And so if I'm not showing, I don't have to say anything just yet.
Yeah.
That's
Which,
incredible.
if somebody does that because of privacy, great. But if we feel like we have to do that to keep our jobs, like, that's unacceptable. We
Yeah,
can't.
that's completely unacceptable.
Yeah. But I will say it's interesting because I was on set when I was on set for Speechless, Minnie Driver starred in that show, and I was so inspired by her because she sat in her makeup chair and FaceTimed with her kids, and like she would talk about like, okay, when are we on hiatus because my kids break is here, and just like I long for a time when when families are valued in this business, and when we can, and in this country, frankly, I long for a time when families are valued in this country,
Yeah.
and to see her leadership on that set of being like, I have a family, I'm going to talk to them, and she was top of the call sheet, so that helps obviously, but I really think that as you move up and get platform, that is something we need to be more vocal about, which is hard because we also don't want to be a bother. We don't want to cause any trouble. And so, I think it's hard knowing when the moment is to pick those battles, but hopefully someday we can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so true. We all try to, and I think that's just kind of that womanly, motherly kind of thing where we just try to make, don't let anyone get too excited. I don't want to cause any trouble. I want this
Mhm.
to go as smoothly as possible. And it's such a shame though that we have to look at it that way and feel we have to do that. It's just, yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
You are very outspoken about some other things about motherhood as well, whether it's breastfeeding, all those kinds of things. And so, and you're so funny. I mean, you're just
Thank you.
funny. I love the comedy piece with it. I think it's so much easier for people to digest
Yep.
these topics when we add a little bit of humor to it. So that's what I just love about you.
Thank
Um,
you.
so share some of the things that you have talked about, especially when it comes to breastfeeding. That topic is still so.
I
I
know. I
mean,
know.
it's just. I mean,
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, I was very, pro breastfeeding in public, and I definitely kind of made a point of I didn't use a cover most of the time with my first child, and it felt like a statement of I am giving food to my baby.
Yeah.
So if you have a problem with this, you leave the room.
Right.
It I don't know, it was something that was super important to me, and I there's a fine line because I didn't want to do it at other people's houses because it's like their private place, and it's a fine line, but I think that by asking women my friend's a wedding photographer, and she was shooting and she had to pump, and she was being asked to pump in the bathroom, and like she came home with the flu because she was like sitting on the floor next to the toilet. Like, I mean, just it's disgusting. Like, we shouldn't have to do that. Nobody should have to do that. And yeah, so I feel like the more we can just get it out there. And I've got some pictures I've had done of me breastfeeding my children, and it's just such a beautiful thing. It's like this very tiny window of motherhood, and obviously not everyone chooses to breastfeed, and that is absolutely fine. But to me, it was just such a beautiful and special time. And breastfeeding mothers are allowed to exist in the world and in the public, and I think that is just, I think that sort of thing is something we really need to work on in this country, not just breastfeeding mothers, but like, you know, um, I was talking to my husband about this because I gained weight during the pandemic, and I'm trying very hard to work on all bodies are good bodies, and I put on my jumpsuit of like shorts, and I was like all paranoid about it yesterday when we went out, but I was like, I am allowed to have bare legs because all bodies are good bodies and all bodies are allowed to exist in public. And that ties in with the breastfeeding thing. It's like there's so much body shame around women, size and shape and color and breastfeeding, and there's just so many ways to shame women into not going out into public. And I just feel like that all falls under similar umbrellas.
It does. Ooh, I could talk all day about body shame and
Mhm.
feeling and it's one of those things where I think when I'm very much just like you when it comes to, all bodies are beautiful, and I honestly feel that way. Why can't I apply that to myself? Like,
Right.
why can't I just recently joined the gym like 3 weeks ago, and I get so inspired by these women that show up ready to just kick some serious ass. And you can tell just by the way they hold themselves that they don't care. Like, they are there to get it done, and they
Mhm.
could care less what they're wearing, what anyone, you just get that aura from them.
Mhm.
And I still feel like I'm not there. I mean, so I suffered from pregnancy and pregnancy anxiety and postpartum anxiety and depression and all
Mhm.
of that, and was ultimately medicated. And I had lost all my baby weight, and then I got on medication and gained it all
Right.
back. And then lost it again, and then had a mental health relapse and a bipolar diagnosis. So now I'm on meds. And I am
Mhm.
currently 30 pounds heavier than I'm supposed to be. I hide it very well, but I am definitely larger than I want to be. And I still struggle with that. And it's so funny because I'm going on a cruise soon, and I told my friend, I said, I hope you don't mind, but I'm ordering a two-piece. She goes, and she were like best friend. Of course
Right.
she doesn't mind. But like, I felt like I even just still had to say it, which is
Oh, I
so,
so feel that.
like, it's so stupid. Like, of course she doesn't care what I wear. Like, and why should I? Like, why? Oh,
So
I
I'm
hear
actually
you.
meeting a girlfriend in a few weeks, and I'm having the same thoughts. And I'm like, is it silly to like tell her ahead of time, because I haven't seen her in 2 years, basically, like to tell her ahead of time that I've like gained weight, and and then I had a friend come over here, and she was like, she had a baby recently, and she was like, just so you know, I haven't been in a swimsuit in a long time. It's like we have this need to apologize for ourselves, even to our best friends, right? And
Yeah,
that just shows like how deeply ingrained all this shame is in us. And it's so sad.
it's
Because
really sad.
yeah,
And it's
and it
just
is a disconnect, because like mentally I'm all bodies are good bodies, and that's very easy for me to apply to other people, and it's so hard for me to apply to myself. So I feel you completely.
Oh, I hear kitty.
Yeah, sorry about that. Ollie, he's like,
No,
please let me
it's
have
okay. I
some.
feel like I should have let my cat in the room too. I have two.
They can
Um,
talk.
you know, how do you work on that? Because I think women are going to be listening to this and going, okay, so both of these women still have this body
We'll
image.
deal with it.
How do we work
Right.
on that?
So, so I've been exploring intuitive eating lately. And kind of leaning into that because there's just a lot of science that's like diets don't work long term. Like it just doesn't work, unfortunately. And so I'm looking into intuitive eating, and I'm trying to focus on more on how my body feels and really get in touch with how my body feels versus how it looks. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
going, I feel like there's too much weight I'm carrying around and it makes my back hurt, or, that is different to me than going, I look at my big butt, like that's different. It's like, I want to feel strong and flexible, right? So that's what I'm trying to focus on now is more the feel versus the look. And it's really hard. And I think, and one of the things I've been struggling with lately is, I'm getting ready. I've just started going out again, basically, and I'm still eating outside, but I'm getting dressed in front of my kids, and I'm looking in the mirror and having those feelings and like feeling sad, trying on clothes that I haven't worn in 2 years and finding they don't fit and things like that. But I'm also doing it in front of my 6-year-old daughter and my 3-year-old son, and I don't want them to absorb that. So like, I think having kids has helped me prioritize trying to make this mental switch, because I don't want them growing up hating their bodies, or judging other people's bodies, so yeah, so I'm just starting to play with the intuitive eating thing, and I think that really helps. And that's so much of that is all bodies are good bodies, and eating for how it makes you feel, not counting calories, but I notice when I eat this I feel gross an hour later versus I notice I have a lot of energy after I eat this, and just starting to pay attention to that stuff and trusting our bodies again. Because I think so many of us are like, Google, tell me what to eat, I mean, or whatever the latest diet is that we're on.
Right. We want it to be easy, right? We just want someone to say, here, just tell me what to eat and tell me what to do, and I'll just do it. The funny part is, even when we pay people to do that, we still don't follow it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Well, because so much of it is just like impossible, to sustain.
exactly.
Because it's
Yeah. I
about
mean, I think
deprivation.
anyone can, change for, a couple weeks or whatever it is. And oddly enough, when I got well the first time, to lose after I went off the medication and to lose the weight that I had gained, I joined Weight Watchers and
Mm.
actually ended up working for them for like
Oh, no kidding.
5 years. And I left because I had just been diagnosed with bipolar and went on medication. And I quit for a couple reasons. One, I knew I was going to gain weight because every time I was on this medication, I'd gain like a good 25, 30 pounds. And not that they would have fired me, because they wouldn't have, but I just was like, I can't, I felt like I couldn't stand up there in front of people and talk about weight stuff, knowing that I was going to gain a lot of weight in like the next couple of months. And I was very honest with them about that. I told them and stuff. And of course, they're like, oh, that's okay, and I'm thinking, well, I mean, who wants to see my before picture and then look at me and be like, well,
Right.
you don't look much different, And so then I became very vocal about mental health issues, which was actually very appreciated with that audience, because a lot of them, were there not just for mental health, but a lot of medications make you gain weight. That's a side
Yep.
effect to a lot of things that people take.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really hard. I want to share with you. I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of Shape-A?
Shape-A? I have
Yeah.
not.
Shape-A is a numberless scale,
Oh,
and
okay.
it is arriving at my house on Thursday, I think. And I think it was like $96 for the whole year. It's an app, and then they send you the scale like for free. There's no
Okay.
numbers. It goes by colors. And it uses this specific AI to like just kind of measure your trends and if you're going in the right direction. I mean, of
Mm.
course, I ordered it right away because I mean, I think I'm going to step on my number scale, but I think the numberless scale is like such a unique way of kind of looking at, kind of like how you said, the intuitive eating, kind of just
Mhm.
knowing how you feel after you eat something. Of course, when we feed our bodies the things that they should be getting, the vitamins and nutrients and all that, we do feel better.
Mhm.
I just think so many of us, we emotionally eat, we eat, for the wrong
Which
reasons. We want, we want quick and convenient, which usually doesn't mean it's healthy. I mean, there's so many
right.
things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah, I like
I
that
have a
idea.
couple things. One is with the emotional eating. What's wrong with that? Like, if we could, I mean, what if we could say, you know what, I'm so sad and I need a bowl of ice cream, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy this delicious bowl of ice cream, and I'm going to finish with no guilt, so that I like close that loop of like, that felt good. I got good feelings from it and I'm done. Like, is there a way that we can allow that, allow those treats and allow that to be pleasure instead
Right.
of guilt and
Shameful and
shame?
guilt. Right.
Shameful.
Right.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
we talk about that, right? Where it spirals out of control. I mean,
Right.
you feel sad. And we all know feeling sad and going to McDonald's and getting a Big Mac is not going to make it better, but it
No.
does do
Give you pleasure
something,
for that moment. Right.
right?
Right.
And then the idea is to kind of sit in that pleasurable moment and figure out what your next step is going to be, which
Right.
could be
Instead of being
something.
like, oh, I'm filled with regret.
Yeah,
I wish I hadn't done that. Cause then it like takes that pleasure away
of
that you
course.
just let yourself have and that you
Yeah.
needed. Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
And
I
then the
mean,
other thing is I've stopped using the scale. Like, I don't weigh myself when I go to the doctor. I don't let them weigh me. Because which you can do. You can say, nope, I don't want to do that. Thank you. And because I can tell by my jeans which way I'm going. So,
yeah,
and that, I don't know, that's one of the ways that I've been working on this too, is because that takes shame away from me. Like, I can know, oh, I'm really bloated today or something, but yeah, seeing that number creep up is just like daily punches to the face, being like, you have no value. I don't, because that's what we're taught it means,
of
right?
course. Of
Yes,
course.
right. If you're going up, then yeah, you must be invaluable, or yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the number on maybe I think I'm going to actually probably do that. I'm just not going to weigh myself anymore.
Right,
Cause you're right.
because
I mean, what is it doing? I mean, it's really not,
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
just really not. Yeah. If anything, it just makes us feel more awful,
right.
and invaluable, just like you said. And
Mhm.
for an emotional eater and we're having those emotions,
Right. Then it's
I
giving
mean,
more bad emotions.
right.
Yeah,
It's just this
exactly.
vicious cycle. And so finding that part of the cycle that you can break, which could be as simple as stop weighing yourself, right? It could
Right.
be as simple as why don't you just really pay attention to the food that makes you feel good,
Mm-hmm.
and pay
Yep.
attention to how does your body feel,
Right.
my back hurts. I tend to get out of breath. I can't run around with my kid like I used to, all of those
Exactly.
things, which
Yeah.
are, those are the real reasons why we make the changes that we do,
Right.
and why we want to do that. I mean, of course, we want to be able to fit into clothes that we used to and all of that, but
Yeah.
it's first and foremost, it's our health, right? Just to,
Right.
be able to, not just live, but actually enjoy living, right? Which is,
Right.
you
And
know,
enjoy and live for ourselves versus the people looking at us, right?
like,
Which is
yeah,
so hard,
it's so hard.
especially as an actor.
Well, yeah, I mean, ooh, I don't know that side of it, but I would wager to bet I mean, that's tough. That's, I mean,
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I do think that there is some movement in the industry away from like, you have to be wafer thin to play any female character, so that's good.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's still a thing.
you
It's
got
still a
to
thing
feel
to worry
those
about.
pressures of that, especially being pregnant. And then you're thinking, oh, do I have to get back to the way that I was?
Oh my God, I know. Like, I don't know, 8 months after I had Oscar, I guess, my youngest, I was in an acting workshop, and another actor in the class like put his hand on my stomach and was like, "Oh, are you pregnant?" And I was like, "No, no, I'm not. Don't ever do that." Like, I mean, and then I had to go up and like perform, right? And go up and like try to be my best self. And it was like, whew, it's amazing how how much that can knock you off your game to just, be so clearly judged.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
But talking about the pleasure and the joy thing, one of my goals for this year is to bring more joy into my life, because for the past 2 years, it's been pandemic. I've been in like survival mode, just try to keep the kids happy, try to keep the house running. Like I have not been focused on fun or joy or pleasure for myself at all. And I'm sure that that is the case for many parents during all this. I mean, many
yeah.
people, period, but parents is really, really got it this year or these past couple of years. And so this year, instead of doing a New Year's resolution, I ended up making a joy board, which is a bingo board. And everything on my bingo board is something that I know, like that I can think about doing it, and it brings me to my happy place, as your sign says.
Yeah.
So that has been really fun. And my husband did one too. And so we're like
Oh,
marking off our bingo boards as the year goes
yeah.
on.
Yeah. I
And it's
love
really
that. Can
great.
you share what some of the things are on your board?
Yeah, so I've got some big things like I'm going to go to Cedar Point with two of my best childhood friends, which is like the theme park, like the biggest roller coasters in the world, basically at this place. And like I grew up going to it, and it just brings me so much joy. And so we're just gonna go and like be little kids, and just the three of us run around and do that. And then there's things like go outside every day. Because I know if I can just even get 5 minutes of sunshine, I know it's going to help me so much more. So that has been, and there'll be times of the day where I'm like, oh, I didn't go outside, and I just like go outside for 5 minutes at night just to like get that done. But just getting that fresh air is so helpful. I've got reading goals on there. A romantic getaway with my husband that is child free is going to be huge. It's a real treat. Gosh, hold on one second. Let me grab it.
Okay.
Oh, so one of mine is figure out how to incorporate mindfulness into our family routines,
Okay. I like
because I'm
that.
really trying to work with my kids on that, because it's been a really stressful 2 years, and then we're like, go back to the real world, kids, and throw them out. And I think
Yeah.
it's very it's anxiety inducing for me. Can't even imagine for
Yeah.
kids. But
Wow.
so we're like trying to work on doing mindfulness stuff. And
I
I
love
had a
that.
very proud mama moment the other day where my daughter and son were fighting and screaming at each other. And my daughter was like, I need to go do a meditation. She stomped up to her room and she listened to the Calm app. There's kids meditations on there. She listened to the Calm app and sat on the futon and like breathed. And Oscar was like, I need to go do a meditation too. So they sat on opposite sides of the futon, so mad at each other, but like doing this meditation together. And then afterwards, Lex was like, I feel so much better.
Oh,
I was just so
your
proud.
heart must have exploded. Like this is
Oh,
it.
so proud. I was like, wow, she took the coping mechanism and ran with it. Like, whew, after, a long time of working with her on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there aren't many places, and even including like school, where we're taught how to process our emotions. And,
right.
This pandemic, is something that has affected every single person. And I don't think that anyone has ever experienced something like that, where it's not just you and it's not just your town, and
Right.
it's like the entire
Entire
world.
world.
And you're right, we take our kids, they do distance learning or whatever it is, and then we just kind of throw them back into it. And it's not the same place. And
Right.
depending on the age of your children too. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, my son's 3.5, so all he knows is this pandemic.
I was just
And so
gonna
it's
say
been
that.
interesting
Yeah.
because he is more comfortable. If the playground's crowded, he's more comfortable with his mask on. Even though we're like, you're outside, you don't have to wear it. Like, he's like, no, I want to. Just because that's what he's been used to for 2
That's his
years.
world. That's all he knows, right?
He also called a cow a dog. And I was like, oh no, we need to get outside. You think that's a dog. That's a cow, darling.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, that's so great. I love that
Yeah.
your your kids did
I
that I need to
know.
go meditate.
Yeah, and we've been trying
Um,
to incorporate like just little moments of it throughout the day. You know, like at breakfast, we all say something we're grateful for. Like we go around the table and say something we're grateful for that day. And at the end of the day, we do the rose and the thorn exercise about our days and just trying to like put little moments of coping and appreciating and, you know, I don't know. I feel like I don't know that I was taught to be a person. Like, I was taught math and science and reading and all these things, but like, how do you just deal with your feelings and how do you deal with being stressed and, you know, all these things? I'm
right.
glad people
Yeah.
are paying more attention to that stuff now.
Yeah, I mean, you see it more and more in schools too, where they're actually taking the time, like instead of gym class learning how to play basketball, teaches how to, meditate and how
Mhm.
to do yoga, and things like that. Things that are useful that, we're going to use even into our adulthood. And likely what
Yeah.
will happen with your kids is that they'll remember doing this as kids. They'll pass it on to their kids, right?
I
And
hope so.
that's
Yeah.
that's where like big change starts to happen. And yeah, and better prepare them for when they have to deal with those big feelings,
Mhm.
because we're not taught how to do that. I mean, so many families don't even do things like this, right? Everything's like, don't talk about, we're not talking about that, or whatever the case may be. But yes, healthy
Yeah.
ways of dealing with those things are need to be taught, and they're
Yeah.
not being taught in school. So that's awesome. So your joy board, now I'm curious,
Yeah.
how many squares does this bingo board
Yeah, I
have?
can show you. All your listeners can't see, but so it's a 5 by 5. And then in
Okay.
the middle, I've got my free space that's just like joy, pleasure, delight, just
Nice.
reminders of what my
Okay.
themes are. And let's see, we've only got a few done. I've only got like 4 done so far.
Okay.
But yeah, playing in a tree climbing course. I know that was something I've done once and I loved so much.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
hard and
that's
awesome.
cool. I love that. I
um,
love that. How's your husband doing on his? Now, are
He's only
they
got a couple too.
okay?
So, yeah. So, you know, I feel like as things are opening back up and as my daughter's finishing school, there's going to be a lot more kind of all happening at the same time. I feel like
Right.
this next month it's all kind of revving up too. I've got some like girlfriend trips planned and yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm very
That's so
excited.
exciting. I love that. Absolutely
Yeah.
love it. So what is next for you in the entertainment world? Can you talk?
Well, I just shot, not just a few months ago, I shot a new show called Dark Winds that's going to be premiering on AMC June 21st.
Oh,
So,
wow.
oh no, June 12th. Scratch that, June 12th.
Okay.
And I am in, well, we'll see. I shot 5 of the 6 episodes. So you may see little peeks of me and everything but the pilot, hopefully. So we'll see. You
Okay.
never know with the edit,
Yeah. Oh,
but yeah, I'm
fun.
excited about that. And then
Yeah.
yeah, just auditioning and writing. I'm actually working on some TV shows, writing some pilots, and yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. Oh,
yeah,
that's
that'll be
very,
fun. I can't wait to see how it turned out. It was a great
yeah.
shoot.
Oh, good. Good, good,
Yeah.
good. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Um, I so appreciate you coming on and talking about. I'm going to put links to. You're still actively writing on your blog.
I am. Yep.
Okay. So I
Yep.
definitely
So
want to
all of
put
that.
links to it. It's so good. Again, your humor is what just draws me to you so much, because I love the way you frame things. I'm all about inserting humor into tough topics that just need to be discussed, that don't people don't want to talk about. But it opens up that conversation a lot easier for people who maybe don't want to talk about those things.
I
um
agree.
I think it's amazing. um so yeah, so I definitely want to have you back on, after this entertainment stuff happens and whatnot, and we
Okay.
can chat some more. I personally want updates on your joy board. I think
Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
I want to know how these things are going. But yeah, but I so appreciate you coming on and sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is
Yeah,
fun.
absolutely.